I'll start my speech in 3, 2, 1. Proposition claims to aim for a world where they create a better participation which results from a better trust for people towards the government. They want to create a high quality of leadership here, but the way they pursue it creates more harm than good that I will explain both on my rebuttals and also arguments. So they cannot claim that world while ignoring the harm or the damage they caused to get here, right? Panels, here we want to clarify first that this debate is not about whether we want a smarter or even more capable leaders. Of course we want that, but the way government tried to achieve it through this political competency task, it is not only exclusive and impractical, but also misunderstands of how democracy and political legitimacy work. On the opposition, our stance here is clear that we don't need grand promises because the standardized task is that is not gonna do more good than harm, like the PM said, but it's not giving something significant or even worsening the current situation of the status quo, and that's why we proudly oppose. Before moving on my arguments, there are two clashes that I will talk about here. The first one is the feasibility of mechanism and also the efficiency. And the second one is about how significant this mechanism can help the goals they want to achieve. Let's move on to my first rebuttals. First, the feasibility of mechanism and the efficiency. Here, we never heard about who have the duty or even the responsibility to make this task on the 8 minutes of the speech from proposition. So that we assume there are two possibilities that can happen. The first one is the task is made by the political party itself, and the second one is the task made by the government of the nation. But here the thing is, the first one, the test that made by a political party, it will not change anything because still they themselves, the political party itself, who choose the person to run for office, right? So here the bias is still gonna happen and the situation is still the same. We're just gonna maintaining the same elite circle they claim to break, right? It will not have a better participation and just the same as the status quo, which is not effective at all. And the second one, it is about the task that made by the government. Well, here in this case, it is not giving a good, but it even is getting worse. Why? Because here, by the task, it can make a standard for politics and even democracy, which is bad. Here we have to understand first, democracy thrives on diversity and also ideas, background, visions, and the moment you create this standardized task, you erase that diverse, right? You erase the meaning of democracy itself, which is so bad under the side of proposition. And the second one is we want to talk about how significant this mechanism can help the goals they want to achieve. So passing the test here, you have to understand that passing the test is not the same as succeeding or even to make a policy and things. This test cannot be a standard for them to look perfect or to look great in order to run for office. Test here is different from creating a better future for the country, and it is not that necessary because in the status quo it will not the proposition will say that it will not make a great significant thing would happen, but even getting worse, what I've said before. So using the status quo that already happened right now is better than proposing this motion. By having the track record or campaign and etc. is sufficient and it's better because it is about the ability to approach this society at the end of the day, right? And by those rebuttals, it means that proposition has failed in both clarity and also urgency. PM here fails to carry the burden of proof, and if they cannot explain it more about why this change is needed with their mechanism and also with the harm that they made, then opposition win this debate. But here, more than just rejecting them, let's show you what a better world happen under opposition, which is the status quo. I will talk about two things here. The first one is about distrust from the society, and the second one is about social contract. First, we have to understand about the distrust from the society. Here, we heard that proposition mentioned about distrust many times, but the real thing here, we have to understand first where this distrust comes from, right? So first, this distrust comes from the accountability and transparency. And the second one is this distrust comes from the lack of education that they have, or the politicians have, the absence of proper political education for them, right? Let's talk about the first one. The first one is about the accountability and transparency, right? So here the political sphere is still lacks sufficient transparency and also like openness, and especially in developing countries or developing democracies, right? Power and legitimacy, it is often centralized, and the accountability is very weak here. So if we want to like introduce this standardized test, this standardized political test, it is only make like further manipulation or like further gatekeeping rather than creating fairer outcomes. These tests is not like a step forward, but it's more like a giving like more tools to have like to make those who are already in the power can be more succeeded, and this is so bad. And the second one, we will talk about the distrust that comes from the lack of education that they have. It is the absence of proper political education for the politician. So here, instead of like giving tests and like let few elites that pass the test succeeded, increasing all political education of the society is the best thing we can do here. So we can have like a proper and also like well-educated politician, not only those elites who can pass the test, who can like run for the office, right? And the second one, we will talk about the social contract. Proposition claims that politicians have a moral obligation to fulfill the social contract because they are given, like power by the people, and we agree. But if you truly believe in the social contract, then here the politicians must be held like accountable by like the people, not only through this type of test that determines who gets to participate in the political protest. And then again, the impact here is undemocratic. When you insert like an endless like barrier like political test, you shift the power away from the people towards however control the test. So at the end of the day, this debate comes down onto which is more better, like the status quo or the proposition wants to claim, which is make this political task from those who want to run for office, right? But here, proposition fails to justify their side of clash, while we've proven why our world is not only more realistic, but also better for the political good. So here, in conclusion, proposition have many clashes, for example, about the mechanism first. They didn't explain who have the duty or like the responsibility, and whether this made by like the political party or whether it is made by the government, both still do more harm than good. And the second one, this is not showing like a significant thing for like the political things and like for the society, for the government itself, because they still have lacking in like many things. And also they are failed to like describing this distrust and also social contract, which is under opposition. The status quo is better than the proposition, like the world that they claim to defend, that they want to achieve under proposition, right? So at the end of the day, proposition failed to justify their side of clash, while a proven way like our world is like not only realistic but also good for the practical goods and also like the political goods, government, and society. And that's why opposition win this debate. Proud to oppose.